In the dead of night, with nothing but the roar of a storm to break the silence, a scream echoed through the small town of Bonham, Texas. It was the kind of sound that jolted the senses, a sound so sharp it pierced through the pounding rain, slicing through the wind like a knife in the dark. By morning, Bonham would never be the same. A woman, 28-year-old Jennifer Harris, would be gone, vanished from the town without a trace, without any explanation, and leaving behind only questions that would haunt this small community for years to come. Her disappearance wasn't just mysterious, it was an unraveling of everything they thought they knew about their peaceful little town. Jennifer had been like so many others, an ordinary young woman with her own hopes, dreams, and aspirations. She had a job she loved, a family who adored her, and a relationship with her high school sweetheart Rob Holman that seemed destined for a happy future. But that night, her life would intersect with darkness in a way no one could have imagined. May 12, 2002, an ordinary evening that would soon spiral into one of the most bewildering disappearances the town had ever seen. Jennifer had spent the day with her friends, laughing, talking, enjoying the kind of carefree evening that everyone assumes will last forever. But by the time she left her friend's house, things would take a turn no one could have predicted. Her last words before she left were simple: "I'm going to Rob's place." But what happened after that simple statement remains a mystery. No one knew then, and no one has been able to figure it out since. Her car would be found hours later, abandoned on the side of the road, parked exactly where she had been the night before. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, no tire marks, nothing to indicate that something had gone horribly wrong. But that didn't make sense. Jennifer was missing. How could a woman simply disappear into thin air? What happened between the moment she left her friend's house and the moment her car was found, parked in the same place with no explanation? And why did her phone remain silent? No messages, no calls. Was she lost? Or was someone waiting for her? The search began immediately, but Jennifer's disappearance didn't follow the usual pattern. No one knew where to look. Her family, her friends, even the police were left chasing nothing but shadows. The answers seemed to slip away with every passing day, like the storm that came and went without leaving any trace. But the more they looked, the less they understood. 6 days later, her body would be found, floating in the Red River. But even that discovery didn't bring closure. It only raised more questions. How did Jennifer end up there? Why hadn't anyone seen her? Was she alive when she was put into the water? And what could have driven someone to take her life in the first place? Everything about Jennifer's death defied reason. No one had seen anything. No one knew who was involved. Was this the work of a stranger? Or had someone close to her orchestrated this brutal act? Could Rob, her boyfriend, be hiding something? Or was the answer somewhere no one had yet thought to look? There was one undeniable truth. Someone knew more. Someone was hiding something, and it seemed as though the storm itself had swallowed the truth whole. As the years passed, the investigation stalled. Dead ends, false leads, false confessions. And still, the question remained. What happened that night? And why has no one been able to answer it? The case of Jennifer Harris, a woman who disappeared without a trace, has remained unsolved to this very day. Her family has never stopped searching for the truth. But as time continues to pass, they wonder, will the storm of unanswered questions ever clear? Or will Jennifer's story remain forever hidden in the shadows, a memory that fades as the years roll on? Stay with us as we uncover the disturbing details of Jennifer Harris's disappearance, explore the theories that have surfaced over the years, and try to piece together the fractured puzzle that remains. Because in this case, even the smallest detail could hold the key to unlocking the truth. Bonham, Texas, a town that, like many others in rural America, thrives on familiarity. Neighbors know each other by name, children play on the streets without fear, and the night carries only the sounds of distant trains and the occasional barking dog. It's a place where everyone feels safe, where the worst thing that could happen is a broken lawnmower or a forgotten grocery list. It's a place where no one would ever expect the kind of nightmare that would soon consume its residents. On May 12, 2002, though, all of that would change. In one of the darkest chapters in the town's history, the small, tight-knit community would be forced to reckon with the unthinkable. A woman, a daughter, a friend, a sister would go missing, and by morning, the streets of Bonham would feel unfamiliar, haunted by the questions of her disappearance. Her name was Jennifer Harris, a 28-year-old woman who seemed to have everything going for her. A warm, caring spirit, a steady job, a loving family, and a boyfriend, Rob Holman, with whom she had been in a serious relationship. She was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered. But on this night, this fateful night, the storm would not be the only force that would leave its mark on Bonham. Jennifer was like any other young woman in a small town. She had hopes and dreams, and a future that seemed bright. That night, she had plans to visit Rob. It was a regular evening. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But as the storm raged through the night, Jennifer would vanish, leaving only an empty car and a town filled with questions that no one could answer. Her last words to a friend had been simple: "I'm going to Rob's place." It was a common enough statement, one that seemed no different from any other. But what happened next would be anything but ordinary. Jennifer's car was found hours later, parked on a deserted stretch of road. The engine was cold, the lights were off, and there was no sign of her. Not a trace. Nothing that could explain what had happened or where she had gone. As the hours passed, the authorities began their search, but they found nothing. No sign of struggle, no tire marks, no indication that Jennifer had been anywhere near her car when it was left behind. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, swallowed up by the storm itself. And that is when the questions began. Jennifer's disappearance didn't follow the usual pattern. There were no signs of a break-in, no witness statements to explain her absence. Her family and friends were left in a state of shock and confusion. They could not understand why someone would hurt her. Who would want to cause harm to a woman so full of life? Was this the work of a stranger? Or did it come from within the very circle of people Jennifer trusted most? For Jennifer's family, the pain was unbearable. They knew that she had to be out there somewhere. They knew she wasn't just gone. Someone had taken her. Someone who knew her. Or someone who had been watching her. But who? Days passed. Leads came and went. Conflicting reports, false sightings, and dead ends. Nothing fit. And just as the search seemed to falter, something unexpected happened. The body of Jennifer Harris was discovered, floating in the Red River 6 days later. But even with the body found, the questions only deepened. How did she end up there? How did she get to the river? And if she was in the water all that time, why hadn't anyone seen her? Was she alive when she was placed in the water? And most importantly, who was responsible for her death? Jennifer's case was unlike any other. It was shrouded in mystery, puzzling details, cryptic clues, and a series of inexplicable events that all seemed to point toward one disturbing reality. Someone was hiding something. Someone knew more than they were letting on. And the deeper the investigators dug, the more questions arose. Was Rob hiding something? Had he been involved in her disappearance in some way? Or was the answer something even more complex, something that no one, not even Jennifer's closest friends and family, could have foreseen? Jennifer Harris's story isn't just about the tragedy of her death. It's about a community forced to confront the unknown, a family left searching for answers, and a case that remains unsolved. Who was responsible for Jennifer's final moments? And will her family ever see justice served? For investigators, separating fact from fiction became an overwhelming challenge. Conflicting theories began to emerge. Some believed Jennifer had been targeted by someone she knew, perhaps an act of revenge or jealousy. Others speculated about a random encounter with a stranger who took advantage of the storm to commit a heinous act. With limited evidence, every theory seemed plausible, yet none could be proven. To this day, Jennifer Harris's case remains a web of unanswered questions and tantalizing clues. What do you think happened on that stormy night? If you were in the investigator's shoes, where would you focus your efforts? Let us know in the comments below. The investigation into Jennifer Harris's death spanned months, then years, with moments of hope flickering like lightning in the distance, briefly illuminating the path before fading back into darkness. Yet, as the clock ticked on, the answers everyone sought remained elusive. The town of Bonham, once so close-knit, was left divided, not just by theories, but by fear. Who could be trusted? And could the person responsible still walk among them? In the days and weeks following Jennifer's disappearance, the investigation was the talk of the town. Everyone had their own theory, their own suspicions. For the Harris family, grief gave way to determination. They pushed tirelessly for answers, cooperating with police and organizing community efforts to keep Jennifer's case in the public eye. Rob Holman, Jennifer's ex-husband, became the primary focus early on. Investigators pointed to their tumultuous relationship, one marked by arguments and growing resentment. Rob's refusal to cooperate fully with investigators only fueled suspicions. According to sources close to the case, Rob made contradictory statements about his whereabouts on the night of Jennifer's disappearance. Yet, despite the tension between them, there was no physical evidence linking Rob to the crime. Then there was James Hamilton. Friends described James as charming but possessive, a man whose temper could boil over without warning. On the night Jennifer vanished, his alibi was shaky at best. Investigators questioned him multiple times, but without witnesses or forensic evidence, James, like Rob, was never charged. Still, whispers about his potential involvement persist to this day. Over the years, investigators pursued dozens of leads, from unverified sightings of Jennifer to reports of suspicious individuals near the Red River. But each lead brought them back to the same grim conclusion. The stormy night had washed away more than footprints. It had erased critical clues, leaving only fragments of a story. The case didn't just haunt Jennifer's family, it cast a shadow over Bonham itself. For years, parents warned their children to stay close to home, and neighbors grew wary of one another. The lingering question, who killed Jennifer, wasn't just a source of speculation. It was a wound that refused to heal. With no definitive resolution, theories about Jennifer's death have taken on a life of their own. Some suggest she was the victim of a crime of passion, her life taken in the heat of an argument. Others believe she crossed paths with a stranger that night, a random act of violence amid the chaos of the storm. And then there are those who suspect a larger conspiracy, pointing to the burned cottage as evidence of a cover-up. Jennifer Harris's case remains open but unsolved. For her family, the lack of closure is an unbearable weight. They continue to advocate for renewed investigations, holding on to the hope that one day someone will come forward with the truth. Sometimes the answers we seek are buried too deep, beneath layers of time, circumstance, and silence. Jennifer's story is a reminder of the fragility of truth and the enduring strength of those who refuse to give up on finding it. As we leave her memory here, we ask, will justice ever truly be served? Or will the echoes of that stormy night continue to haunt us forever? As the storm dissipated that fateful May night, it left more than broken branches and flooded roads in its wake. It left a family in ruins, a community shaken, and a question that echoes louder with each passing year. What really happened to Jennifer Harris? The mystery isn't just about a life taken too soon. It's about the unanswered questions that continue to haunt those who loved her, and the unsettling truth that justice sometimes feels as distant as the stars. Jennifer's story was supposed to be one of promise, a young woman who had overcome setbacks, found her passion, and sought to carve her own path in life. But what started as a seemingly ordinary day ended in tragedy, shrouded in a storm of confusion and mystery. The evidence, scattered, puzzling, and incomplete, told a story without a clear ending. Her Jeep, carefully placed on the bridge, raised more questions than it answered. The rumors of her visiting her ex-boyfriend that night added tension to the narrative. And the grim discovery of her body, tangled in the waters of the Red River, left investigators and her loved ones searching for meaning in an act so cruel. In the days, weeks, and years that followed, Jennifer's death became more than just a case file. It became a wound that refused to heal. For her family, the pain wasn't confined to her loss, but magnified by the lack of closure. Birthdays, holidays, and milestones became constant reminders of her absence. Jennifer's father, standing at the forefront of the fight for answers, became the voice for a justice system that seemed unwilling or unable to provide the resolution they deserved. For the people of Bonham, the story served as a stark reminder of how fragile safety can be. In small towns like this, where everyone knows everyone, the idea that one of their own could commit such an act, or that an outsider could arrive unnoticed and leave chaos in their wake, was almost too much to bear. And yet, for all the theories, accusations, and evidence, the case remains unresolved. Investigators pursued leads that fizzled out. Suspicions swirled around familiar names. Her ex-husband Rob, whose alibi was questioned, and her ex-boyfriend James, who admitted to seeing her that night but denied involvement. Could it have been a jealous lover? A random act of violence? Or is the truth something far more unexpected, hidden just out of reach? Despite advances in forensic science, no definitive link has surfaced. And as time passes, memories fade, evidence deteriorates, and those who might hold the answers remain silent. This isn't just a failure of investigation. It's a failure of justice, one that leaves a family clinging to hope and a town grappling with its own shadow. Stories like Jennifer's remind us that some storms never truly pass. They linger, leaving echoes in the lives they touch. The questions we ask ourselves are not just about her fate, but about the world we live in. How much do we truly know about the people around us? And if this could happen in a small, tightly knit town like Bonham, could it happen anywhere? What happened to Jennifer on that stormy night? Who took her life, and why? And will her family ever find the answers they've been searching for? What do you think happened that night? Was it a crime of passion, a calculated act, or something we've yet to imagine? Share your theories in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation. And if you're captivated by stories that challenge our understanding of justice and mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more.